Welcome to Sit, Stay, Read, the podcast for every wag, whinny, and whisker. I'm Kathleen Donnelly, award-winning author and retired canine handler. Each week, I chat with novelists about the bond we share with our furry friends and how they inspire stories. Grab a coffee, get cozy with your favorite pet. It's time to sit, stay, read. Well, today, I am welcoming debut novelist Robert Isaacs. His book, It's Hard to Be an Animal, made me literally laugh out loud. It's a touching story about love and discovering courage as well, though. And Robert has lived a really fascinating life. We're going to discuss it a little bit, and I look forward to hearing more about his book. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Well, it's your bio just right away caught me before I even read anything about your book. But even the book description made me laugh because as an animal lover, I feel like animals all have something to say. So
Oh, yes.
yes. But first, your bio says you've done many things. You've escaped an angry hippo, you've roasted marshmallows in lava, you were a juggler, a unicyclist, and now a conductor, and even a Grammy nominee. I want to hear more, but I'm kind of thinking let's talk about the angry hippo because that might have been a inspiration for the book.
At the time, I was a little focused on the hippo and not thinking about literary possibilities. But this was, 15, 20 years ago or something. I was visiting the person who would become my wife, Kate. She's from Zimbabwe, and we went to Botswana and out to the Okavango Delta, which is just so fun and exotic to say that I have to say it again, the Okavango Delta. And we went out in a Makoro, which is a small canoe with a local guide, and camped overnight. And on the way back, we surprised a hippo, and we had to leap suddenly out of the canoe, which I thought was a
Okay.
strange idea because usually where there are hippos, there are crocodiles as well. But
Yes.
it was a whole, you could make a whole podcast episode out of this event, but luckily we did not get eaten by the hippo. Hippos are vegetarians, but they kill more people than any other animal in Africa other than the mosquito.
Oh,
They
oh
are
my gosh.
really, really grumpy vegetarians.
I would say
So it's
so. Wow.
very dangerous. And our guide, who'd been doing this his whole life, said he'd only three times before, or only twice before, come across a hippo in the middle of the day in
Wow.
out of the deep water where it's cooler for them. And once before, he lost his Makoro because the hippo bit it in half. And one time
Oh
he
my
managed to
gosh.
escape with his canoe.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I had no idea hippos went after people that much. I mean, I get it when you're canoeing over the top of them, that could be aggravating, but I didn't realize they were that dangerous. So
They're pretty scary, and they run a lot faster than you would think. Faster than
really?
us. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought any of that. I'd be more afraid of the crocodiles, I think, but now
I
I'm
realized
rethinking
in that
this.
moment that I was so lucky because while I was afraid, I was an ignorant tourist and didn't really know what was going to happen. Kate had
Okay.
grown up in Zimbabwe and knew exactly how aggressive they are.
Okay.
And Russ, of course, had spent his whole life around them. So I was a little protected by my ignorance and only later realized just how close a call this was.
Wow, wow, so fascinating. Well, that's a good segue into your book because no hippos in your book. But
No, I
I
don't want
I
to
love
offend
it.
them.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. So no hippos. We have plenty of other animals. Tell us about It's Hard to Be an Animal. Give us a little bit of background on the book and the storyline.
Well, it started as I was just on a walk with my wife in the spring one day and listening to nature come to life after years, after a winter of being very silent and all the birds singing around us. And and it was very soothing and peaceful. And I turned to Kate and said, it would be, if we really understood what they were saying, 90% of it is F off, because they're territorial. And that made us laugh like this. And then I thought it could be interesting to build a story around a character who suddenly understands what all the animals around him are saying, and they're not as nice as we thought.
Yeah, that I think one of the lines that really made me laugh out loud was the seeing iDoc who called his person Ray Charles with some choice words around there. So,
Yes, he's bummed because he got bumped from the Vice Squad, which is a more fun gig for the dogs.
yes, yes. I'm a retired canine handler, so that's probably why that just stuck out to me. So
Yes,
I was like,
I'm
oh
hoping
yes.
I read your bio, and I'm hoping that I got all the details right about the
Oh
various
yeah.
dogs that came in and their likely personalities. I
Oh,
consulted a
definitely.
friend who works with dogs in Westchester and got his advice too.
Oh, I love it. Well, and the other animals that really cracked me up were the beta fish, speaking in Shakespearean ad towards each other, like insulting each other. So where did that, do you have beta fish? Where did that idea come
You
from?
know what's funny? We had a beta fish many years ago that
Okay.
my wife managed to put through all kinds of extraordinary trials, and it stayed alive somehow, including falling off the top of a car at one point.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, it was a wonderful, heroic little guy. And but I remembered about him, and excuse me, and I thought it would be fun to have a couple of them in the book, and I invented
Yeah.
them and wrote the whole thing. And then after that point, my daughter decided she wanted to get a beta fish. So then we lived with a beta fish again, although we
Oh wow.
hadn't for a while. But I'd already written about them, and they're very aggressive. And I thought that would be a fun little dialogue for them to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. I think I had a friend growing up who had some, and yeah, they all have to be separated because they don't like each other. So it
No,
was really funny to think about them giving insults in Shakespearean English. It's like
and
I love
in
that.
ways that are that of course, as a writer, lucky echoes crop up all the time. They are
Yeah.
two creatures that live in these tiny contained things that are shouting at each other, which of course is very much akin to some people's experience of living in small apartments in New
Yeah.
York and having neighbors that you don't always get along with, which is where Henry, our protagonist, lives. So
Yeah.
territoriality and privacy and space and everything else it all plays out in their story as well.
Yeah, and Henry was a great character. Like he's just this wonderful guy, but you want him to find some confidence. So tell us a little bit about his character arc and how he is forced into that.
Well, Henry's a sweetheart. I really I like him, and I
Yeah.
thought of various people that I knew who are just a little bit too nice for this world in creating Henry. And of course, then he has to live in a place where there are some sharp elbows of human life. So I plunked
Yeah.
him right down in Manhattan, where I lived as well for 16 years.
Okay.
And um, he's uh, deferential to a fault. He really wants to kind of avoid conflict with anybody ever and to head it
Yeah.
off, and hates being involved in it, and is wonderfully kind of polite and everything, but never really speaks up for himself. And
Yeah.
then the animals around him start speaking up for themselves.
And I thought it was so funny when he went to his therapist because I thought, okay, he's going to tell his therapist, Murray, that he can hear animals speak. And I was curious to see where Murray was going to go with that. And it just cracked me up because he said, I wrote it down here, it's a metaphor. He thought it was a metaphor for Henry. So,
Murray is not the best listener, and I here need to publicly apologize to the all the various therapists I've spoken to in my life who were wonderful listeners and very, very good. Murray is not based on any of them, but just a kind of a fun comic foil.
I thought he had to be in there though, because when you think you start hearing animals literally speaking to you, you have to wonder if you're a little out there.
Yeah.
So I thought he
And
was a great
Henry
addition.
spends the first quarter of the book wondering if he's just going crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and somehow the way it's written, you're like, you're not going crazy, Henry. Like the reader doesn't believe he's crazy. And that's one of the charming things about the book that I really enjoyed. Another one was Molly. Tell us about Molly and did your wife inspire Molly or is she her own character?
I think my wife got a little jealous of Molly, actually,
Uh-oh.
but she's equally lovely and exists in the real world, which is a far preferable state. But Molly is also a delightful character. She's one of these people who's just always at play in the world. Every situation has its humor, and she finds it, and she struggles a little bit to rein that in her professional identity. And part
Yeah.
of her arc is Henry helping her to sort of see that she doesn't necessarily have to.
Right.
That she has this gift of finding humor everywhere. And she and Henry are set up on a date by one of Henry's coworkers, who's a friend of Molly's. Henry thinks she's way out of his league, but has fun.
Yeah.
Uh, Molly seems to possibly be interested for reasons
Yeah.
Henry can't possibly imagine.
Yeah, and we'll leave it at that. We won't spoil anything, but I do want to touch briefly. There's a little bit of a mystery to this too, which was fun. And of course it was the rats who introduced us to that. So tell me about that.
Well, you can't write about the animals in New York without respecting the rats who have
Yes.
spoken up in every corner of New York and have many opinions for many years. Um, Henry overhears some rats in a subway station. It's the West 4th Street station, which, by the way, a year or two ago, when I went to New York with my daughters, we passed through the West 4th Street station, and I immediately walked to the edge of the platform and stood there waiting and hoping. And indeed, a little rat crept out.
Oh.
And my daughter said, no one in New York has ever been more pleased to see a rat in the subway. But there he was, my little rat character. Anyway, the rats are pretty awful, and they report on nefarious things that are kind of possibly happening in some of the abandoned subway tunnels, and that drags Henry and eventually
Yeah.
Molly into more and more absurd but hopefully entertaining adventures.
Yes. And you mentioned the tunnels in New York. Now, I live in Colorado, so I don't know the first thing about New York, but I know the author's note said there's not really tunnels under the 4th Street station. Is that right? But there are tunnels. Have you ever been down in any of those or explored any of those?
I have not been down in them, but there are huge, a whole network of tunnels that have been abandoned and that
Ah,
unhoused people have lived in for many years. And there's a whole kind of community around them. I
okay.
did not want any intrepid reader getting excited and doing really really stupid things and exploring, so that's why I put the note at the beginning. But hopefully, it also intrigues the reader a little bit to say, "Oh, we're going to
Yeah.
get to read about that," because it's right at the front of the book.
Hey, it intrigued me. It worked for me. I was like, oh yeah, I think I've heard about that. And someday it would be, well, maybe it wouldn't be fun to see them. It sounds like with the communities down there, you better know what you're doing.
Yeah, you'd want to know where you were going and have a wise guide.
Yeah, yeah. But it's fascinating to think of like a whole nother city under the city. I mean, that's
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So I'd love to hear kind of shifting gears about your music career because conductor, choral, right? Or orchestra or all of the above.
My specialty is in choral music. I
Okay.
did conduct choral orchestral music, larger pieces sometimes, but I'm a singer myself, and that's
Okay.
really where my first love was in unaccompanied choral music.
That's amazing. And you've been nominated for a Grammy. I'd love to hear more about that. Fill us in about that.
Well, that, like many things in life, is even getting published. There's a large element of luck that comes
Yeah.
in. The right recording lands on the right desk at the right time. The right manuscript lands at the right editor's desk. But I worked for many years in New York as a singer, and I sang with small ensembles. And one
Okay.
was a group called the Tiffany Consort, 8 singers, and
Wow.
we made a CD, and somehow it got nominated and for best ensemble, small ensemble, or something like that.
Okay.
We did not win. The conductor Pierre Boulez, won that particular category. I think that was his 25th Grammy. So I thought he could have
Wow.
shared the wealth a little bit, but
Yeah.
technically, I could have gone out and attended the Grammys. They happened actually in
Okay.
two nights, so I would have been in the less famous night. But I was teaching at a conservatory, and I didn't really want to miss my classes and everything. My daughter gives me grief a lot for not having gone to the Grammys.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of side with her on that one, but I also understand when you have commitments that it's hard. And so, do you still teach music? Are you still conducting, or have you switched to writing?
I've switched to writing. I left conducting full time conducting. I conducted at universities, at most recently at Cornell, and before that at Princeton, and then before that at the
Okay,
Manhattan School of Music. And I did a lot of work in the UK as well.
nice.
And then 5 years ago, I sort of took a left turn and came back to writing, which was something that I'd always been interested in, and even got a degree in, but just for fun
Yeah,
at one point. My family are all writers, so it's sort of a returning to
cool.
the family tradition, and I love it. I don't, I had wonderful experiences in the music world, singing and conducting and recording and commissioning new works and touring and everything else. But it's also really nice to be able to spend a lot more time at home
Yeah,
with my kids and my wife. And I won't lie, it's nice to spend a larger part of your day with fictional characters, fictional people,
yes.
rather than the real people who are of all types and can be a little wearying at times, especially if you're introverted as I am. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I think there's a lot of correlation. I think a lot of writers are musicians, maybe not professional, and not certainly not to the level you've been, but I think it goes together. Do you agree with that? Do you think that goes hand in hand?
I think so. I think that for me, one of the parts of writing that is hardest to teach maybe is just the rhythm of it, the
Yeah.
rhythm of a sentence and the rhythm of a sentence and how it balances against the other sentences around it. And a huge part of my writing process is sort of hearing that backbeat and where it propels forward. And you're thinking about the very limited range of punctuation we have to guide that music in the reader's ear, and avoid a kind of a setting up a sing-song repetitive kind of cadence. Um, so I think a lot about that.
Yeah.
And writers and musicians both listen. Do you try to listen and observe the world
Yeah.
and see what you notice?
That makes sense. Yeah, I was thinking about the rhythm in your book, and I was wondering, do you read it out loud, or do you have someone read it to you, or how do you like to hear that rhythm?
I did read it out loud to my wife Kate
Okay.
while I was writing, and generally that's what I do, and I find that fun and illuminating. Sometimes you find yourself rushing through a paragraph because it just seems less interesting when you read it aloud to someone else. So that's a note to flag that you
Yeah.
never saw that before. I will say that one of the really interesting parts of the publishing process was, and I didn't know this would happen, that I got to weigh in on the narrators for the audiobook. So
Yeah.
Hachette sent me recordings of various people reading the same passage, and it was fascinating because some of them, it was funnier in some voices, same words, but they somehow managed to make it funnier. And as my wife noted, and I think she's exactly right, a very gifted reader, you don't have to do very much work to picture where you are and what's happening in the scene. There's a
Right.
different timbre for action or for static uh, description of where we are, or for inner thoughts. All of those are different kinds of things that happen. And then on top of that, you layer all the characters and their individual voices. So I was so happy to land on Sunil Malhotra, who's recording the audiobook
Okay.
and did a really wonderful job in the bit that I heard. So I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of it.
It's funny. I don't listen to many audiobooks, partially because I tried listening to them when I was driving, and then I became a very unsafe driver because I got into the book and stopped paying attention. So, there's a
Good.
problem, right?
Yep, yep.
But I thought this is a book I want to get on audio. I want to hear how the narrator does it. So I'm excited to hear you were able to choose the narrator, and it sounds like
Yeah,
it was true to your ear, to what you wanted.
I really liked it. I mean, a lot goes on faith because you only hear a couple characters and such. And he, of course, has
Yeah.
a lot of animal voices to invent and somehow make
Yes.
them sound rat-like or snake-like or cat-like or
Yeah.
whatever, different breeds of dog. But hopefully he finds that fun. And yeah, I also don't listen to much audiobooks, but I listen to NPR a lot and I've done a lot of
Yeah.
work, with the voice myself. So I had opinions.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you did. You know more about it than probably most of us. So I love that.
I don't know about that, but I'm it's so easy to become a person who develops opinions even if you don't know very much, but I try to recognize when that happens.
I love it. But I was also curious, in your bio, you had that you were a juggler and a unicyclist in San Francisco. Is that right?
I was
So,
all of this in the same lifetime. I took some time off from college because I just wanted to get away for a little bit, and
okay.
I went. I had learned to juggle as a kid. I taught myself how to juggle and ride
Okay.
a unicycle because I was, bored, and my parents didn't let us watch TV, so I did other things for which I'm very grateful. I taught myself
Yeah.
how to play piano and the guitar and to juggle and to write and things like that. All of those have been things that have been part of my life ever since. And I thought that would be fun. So I called up an old friend and we drove across the country and put on, developed a show
Okay.
um, with our unicycles and machetes and torches and everything else. And then he decided he wanted to keep traveling for a bit, and I stuck around and did a solo show for a little while. And I learned so much, about uh, the nature of the arc of a performance and
Yeah.
how to build and keep a crowd. Um, and I did make my living at it. I'm fairly certain that I have given back to various street performers in the years since more in total than I made from that time. So I've kind of paid it back into the world, I guess. But
I love it. I love it. When I read that, I thought, this could be an interesting book tour. You could add in with your book tour some juggling and unicycling
if the audience looks
and
really bored, yeah, yeah.
well, they won't be, not with this book. So what's up next for you? Is there another book? Is this going to be any kind of a series, or do you have another book in the works, or what are you writing right now?
Well, it won't be a series. This book I drafted first 5 years ago in the fall of 2021. Um, it's just after the pandemic. An awful lot of people had lost, 40 million people lost their jobs, and they all went home and wrote
Yeah.
novels. A lot of people couldn't go clubbing, and they stayed in and wrote novels. People who were stuck in quarantine wrote novels. And the whole publishing industry came to a stop.
Mhm.
So uh, it was a tough time to kind of break through the clutter. It took a long time to get an agent, and then shifted agents at one point. So, and then this
Okay.
book actually got picked up by Hachette almost 2 years ago. So I've been
Okay.
busily writing all along and hoping and waiting for this. And I'm actually two manuscripts ahead of this one by this
Oh,
point. So
wow.
I hope it sells because if it doesn't, then there's no chance of getting those ones published. But I'd love to get them out there too.
Well, I hope this book sells too. And I tell you what, anyone listening, this is so much fun. So I hope it sells too, because I want to read more. I want to, you have a writing voice that I want to know what the
Oh, that's
next
very
is going to
kind,
be.
Kathleen.
So
I
yeah.
appreciate that, especially coming from you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. How can readers connect with you? Because when they read it, I think they're going to want like an author newsletter or website or
Oh my gosh, I should do all of those things. Uh, I think it's called self-promotion. It is a
Mhm.
it's a thing in the music world too. You sort of have
Mhm.
to kind of promote yourself. You're an
Yeah.
independent contractor most of the time when you're singing with different ensembles and going around and doing solos and such. And I found myself a little allergic to the whole process.
Yeah.
You have to write a bio if you're a soloist in a concert, and the bio appears in the program. And the dirty secret is that virtually everybody writes their own bios unless you're, you know, outrageously famous. And sometimes
Yeah.
you'd read something, it would say, so and so is one of the leading young baritones of his generation. And I'd think, good God, how does anybody get to say that about themselves, you know? And I always wanted to write a bio that said, Robert ekes out a modest living singing whatever people pay him for, and just leave it at that, you know? So I'm a
I like
little
it.
allergic to the self-promotion side of things,
Yeah.
and um, I don't have a website for
Okay.
personal reasons. I'm not on social media. I've just sort of never
Mhm.
got involved with that.
Yeah.
I don't even. I have a dumb phone. I'm not a luddite, but I choose carefully which bits of technology I want to engage in. You know. Um,
Makes sense.
so all that to say, like I'm unlikely to kind of build out all of that because this is new for me in my 50s to be jumping into this career.
Yeah.
But I love hearing from people that enjoy a book, and if anybody wants to get in touch, I'm sure they could reach out to the publisher and they'll get to me somehow, and I will
Sure.
write back because I'm always happy to make friends that way. But
Yeah. Oh, no, that's fantastic. That's well, and I understand that. And bios are tough. And but your bio, the one you already have written, is fantastic. So, and you
it
could add
was
in the ekes out a living if you wanted.
yeah, it's a goofy thing. I figured that the bio
Yeah.
is part of what sells the book on the back, and I have been lucky enough to have this kind of absurd life and get to do
Yeah.
so many things and go to so many places, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fun to hear. And I think that's what's fun about books is it transports us to another world. We get to learn. I mean, for me, like I said, I've never been to New York, but now if I go to New York and I see the pigeons or, a Pomeranian or the rat, I'm going to have a whole new perspective in my mind. So,
you'll know what they're
yeah.
talking about.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think my animals all at one point or another have said equally, uh, they've dropped the F-bomb. We'll just go there.
Yes. Yeah, I will warn the readers that some of the animals do speak like sailors.
They do, but it
They
worked
live in
for
New
me.
York. What are you
They
going
live
to
in
do?
New York. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The first time I was on the East Coast, I was like, whoa, I didn't know. I didn't know you could have this many F-bombs. So so it worked for me. So I was only in like the Maryland area. I'm sure the further north you go, it
Well, it gets colder, so yeah, that tends to spur more language.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, we're kind of like the beta fish all in our little bowls there in apartments and stuff. So
Right. That said, I loved living in New York, and I found that
yeah,
although people in New York can be abrupt and sometimes foul-mouthed, they're very genuinely friendly, more so than in
yeah.
many other cities that I've lived in. And so I hope it sort of comes across that although the animals are grumpy, they're not awful. I mean, a couple of them are
Mm-mm.
awful.
No.
A couple of them are just genuinely awful characters,
Yeah.
but by and large, they're just trying to get around in the city in their own way, just like all the humans are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that came through. And I thought there was a little bit of a character arc with the animals too, and the way they help Henry and how that all comes through. So yeah, it was well done. It was fun. It was definitely, like I said, I literally laughed out loud and I read a few of the lines to my
Oh,
husband because he's an animal lover too. I'm like, hey, you have to hear this.
I fear the animal lovers out there. I think a couple of them have gotten it cold of advance copies and were not impressed with
Oh.
the on Goodreads, but it's okay. It's not a book for everyone, you know.
No, no, that's what's hard. But I think for any listener who enjoys animals it's just it was charming. I don't know. I don't know why I'm saying charming when they all dropped F-bombs here and there, but it was funny. Maybe it's because I can
Yeah.
believe it. We had a scrub jay outside this morning, outside in the yard, and I was like, "Oh, you are so saying things that
Blue
cannot
jays
be."
only cuss. They are so
Yes,
foul-mouthed all the time.
yes,
We hear them too.
yes, yeah. And I let my lab go out and bark at him, and
Yeah,
I'm
he
sure that
probably
so
had some
there
things to
was,
say too.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
probably saying, "What's your language?"
He
You
probably
know,
was,
he
yeah,
was probably
yeah.
scolding them, not using bad language himself.
Exactly. He's a pretty dapper guy, so I don't think he would. So, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a fun interview.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I'm really honored to talk with you about it.
Well, I hope it sells because I want to read more from you and everyone. I highly recommend It's Hard to Be an Animal. It's a fun read. It'll make you wonder what your animals are actually saying, and it's entertaining and it's out now. So until next time, keep your tails wagging and pages turning. Thanks for joining me today. Sit, Stay, Read is a part of the Authors on the Air Global Network. If you enjoyed today's author interview, be sure to leave a review and share the episode with a fellow animal-loving reader. If you're curious about the world of working dogs and wilderness adventures, please check out my books at KathleenDonnelly.com. Until next time, curl up with your best furry friend and sit, stay, read.